Succession planning throughout not-for-profit organizations. In a study by the Corporate Leadership Council, 72% of companies are anticipating an increase in vacancies in leadership positions over the next 3 to 5 years. In the same study, 76% say they are, quote, less than confident in their abilities to adequately staff these positions. Daring to Lead 2006, a publication of Compass Point Nonprofit Services and the Meyer Foundation, surveyed 1,900 not-for-profit leaders and found that 75% planned on leaving their positions within the next 5 years. Succession planning, first for executive directors and also for other key leadership positions, is essential. While working in and with not-for-profits for many years, we all too often have seen organizations without a plan to provide for the leadership of an organization should the leader leave permanently or for an extended period of time. This often leads to chaos and threatens the sustainability of organizations. We find that boards and top leadership, especially of smaller organizations, are unwilling to prioritize succession planning. Some consider grooming of a potential internal candidate as succession planning. Although this is a place to start, it does not go far enough. We have repeatedly seen the pattern of leadership positions being filled urgently. This often leads to misfits with the organization at best. There are 3 types of succession planning that should be undertaken as a top priority. First, emergency succession planning. This is the plan that is in place in the event that the ED or another key leadership position is vacated unexpectedly, perhaps due to an illness or injury, for example, or for a defined extended period of time, such as sabbatical or recovery from an illness. The Ann E. Casey Foundation outlined these key steps. Identify the critical leadership and management functions of the executive director. Agree upon which functions should be covered by an acting director, the extent and limitations of his or her authority, and which functions a second manager could cover. Agree upon who has authority to appoint an acting director, and agree upon standing appointees to the position of acting director with first and second backups and compensation for that position. Develop a cross-training plan for the identified backups that ensures they develop their abilities to carry out the ED's key functions. Agree upon how the board will support and supervise an acting director. Draft a communications plan to be implemented in the event of an emergency succession, who gets notified and how. Outline procedures to be followed in the event that an emergency absence becomes a permanent, unplanned absence. Second, departure-defined succession planning. This is the plan that is put in place that outlines what will happen for a future planned retirement or permanent departure. The key steps defined by the Ann E. Casey Foundation include: set the departure date, form a succession planning committee, prepare a communications plan, how soon to tell whom and by what means, solidify the management team in light of agency vulnerabilities and skills demanded by the strategic directions, build the board's leadership abilities, back up key executive relationships, and put finances in order, build financial reserves and secure multi-year program funding. Agree upon the parameters of the ED's emeritus role if one is set up, and set the executive search strategy. For example, decide whether or not to use an executive recruiter. And finally, strategic leadership development. This is the plan for ongoing leadership development for talent within the organization. Having strong leaders and consistently developing them assures that either of the above plans will be well executed and increase the agency's sustainability. The key steps to top strategic leadership development are: identify the core competencies of all positions. Identify the strengths and behavioral preferences of employees in the organization. Provide formalized coaching or other development for employees. Identify key functions for cross-functional training and those who have the strengths to perform those tasks. And finally, allow for actual experiential learning for high potentials. As mentioned previously, a strong strategic leader development plan will ultimately support either the emergency or defined departure plan. If you are an organizational leader, you can begin your development by understanding your behavioral styles and how you might fit into this plan. There are a number of profiles in the market that allow you to measure your behavioral style and tendencies. We've used many of them and have identified one and recommend one that we believe is particularly relevant to organizational leaders. If you are a leader and are interested in understanding your behavioral styles, click on the link below the movie to take a free copy of the profile that we recommend.